So here I got the 5 minute candle daily chart for BLIN, Bridgeline Digital. Traded pretty much sideways off very light volume, pretty much none, until it spiked on not too much volume all the way from 170 to 195 back to the 180 on the VWAP, and here we are with 20 minutes left in closing, and it's around $2 but off a very light volume. So I want to be prepared headed into tomorrow. So let's look at a larger time frame to get a better picture. I got my uptrend drawn on the 90-day right here, so you can see a clear bottom it formed. The real confirmation was this day right here on the April 16th when it spiked. So actually it caught my eyes. Let's look at this. It caught my eyes because I saw a 13D on it. I think on the 5th or the 4th of May. So I put a bullish call out here on the on May 4th, right? When it's 111, around 113. Because I see this an individual investor actually bought 9%. I guess it's some doctor as I looked in further. But he bought 9%, so usually that's a kind of a hint that something's coming. And sure enough, let's check it out. The 4th is right here. So this guy must have knew something, because look what happened. Just about a week later, this hit $3, right? So that even so everyone was watching this for the bounce after that spike. Even though this is a stock that runs really hard and usually doesn't bounce too much, so it's also worth noting it's not much of a multi-day runner. Even though it is doing this little uptrend off the bottom, being helped out by the overall market the last 2 months, but it pulled back under here to hit the 200 SMA, bounced a little, and as we see, look at the top of this wick is exactly the top of this candle, so it's formed a little bit of resistance here, and we'll talk about this spike right here in a little bit. So that 13D was on the 4th, spikes here. After it spikes, heads back to this downtrend, but it actually breaks it and tests the 200 SMA, which it bounces off. And the next time I'm really paying attention, because I had such a little amount of shares that I don't even think I made any money. I don't even remember it. It was that little. I might have had a few thousand shares, and I sold probably too early. But I was on the watch for the bottom of it, especially after it broke the uptrend. And one day it went from 160 to 2. All over my scanners, no volume, no news. So I realized it was probably a pump. So I searched the regular suspects, and you know who it was, right? What was his name? Mr. Investor Pro. Back at it here with another infamous pump and dump on the smallest cap ticker he could find. It was at $2, right? So I shorted it back down to the 180 where I knew it would go eventually. So that's here, forming more resistance of bag holders here. Bounces right back down to this uptrend where you're supposed to be buying it. And then today, let's check this out. I'm gonna go back to the full year. What caused it to spike today was this news, which in all honesty is just another contract that doesn't have any definite numbers or anything. So I mean, it brings volume to these stocks, which is all it takes for a temporary momentum trade. This is not an investment. I'm swinging it one day. I'll see how it looks tomorrow. I'm in the pre-market. I'll be quick to take profits in pre-market if it's over $2 or over 220 from my 178 average. But we'll talk about price targets in a second. So they got a contract, and that caused it to spike. And it's also worth noting they have the 10Q recently done, so we can see how many shares they have. There's 3.4 million shares, as of May 11th. So that's why it's spiking so hard on low volume. It's one of the lowest float stocks out there. And it's a former parabolic runner, so people are more prone to chase it and get FOMO. Similar to the SINT. These go very similar. Their revenue is very similar to what it was last year. Hasn't grown. It's down a little bit, but I mean they have a 900,000 revenue every 3 months, so a little less than $4 million in revenue a year. And right now at $2, their company would be market cap would be $6 million. See, this has a lot of room for growth. That's why people like these. But you got to be realistic. I mean, it's worth noting. They're still losing money. Let's see the loss. They're still losing 822,000. Their revenue's 899 for these 3 months. They lost 822,000. So another unprofitable penny stock. Momentum day trades, short-term swing trade. So we got through the 10 keel. It's also worth noting they got an S3 right here, which scared me, and I wouldn't have swung it, but it does say the information in this is not complete and may be changed. We may not sell these securities until a registration statement filed with the Security and Exchange Commission is effective. This is not an offer to sell these securities. So they're not quite ready yet. But it's worth noting in the future, short term, they probably will try to get some off. So my price targets on this, I got on the year over here. My first one's gonna be so if I wake up tomorrow on pre-market, it's over 2. I'm putting my stop loss at 2, and I'm not gonna let it drop under. Right. After that, my next price target is gonna be this 220. This 220 level. After that, it will be 250, then 260. So if we open up and we're like 180, 185 or something, similar to where it was in regular trading hours, my price target will be 2, then 220, then 250, then 260. And I'm trying to look to it. If I sell that 2, get stopped out at 2, I'll be looking to reload around 185, 180, between there. Preferably 180, but I don't know if it's gonna go all that back down there in the right away, in pre-market at least. Or I'll take profits real quick in pre-market and then look to buy the morning dip. Now underneath, if it breaks under the 180, I'm looking to add about 175. If it breaks under 185, 175. Underneath that, 165, and then the next one would be 150. I don't think it's gonna be breaking under the 175, to be honest. So it'll be about maybe rinsing between 185, rinsing, repeating, loading at 185, selling at 2, or loading at 185 and then selling at 195. You know, just trying to get in and out maybe 3 or 4 times on that day. Or maybe even rinsing, repeating between the 175 and around 185, you know. So a minute that breaks the support, you got to use the previous support it just broke as resistance, or is your next price target off that lower support level. But yeah, look, this is spiked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bunch of times, over 5 times this year. And it's also worth noting that one time it did spike really hard. It had 40 million volume. The Mr. Investor pump brought in about 2 million. And then today we only had 925. So it's really another case of will the volume, the news isn't huge, will the momentum carry over tomorrow? I don't know. And every time you're swinging it, you're almost risking that morning gap down that you can't control. So we'll see.